In the Fellowship of the Ring, the Nazgul got washed away by Elrond's flooding of the river at Rivendell's border. Coming up in this video, we are going to find out what happened to the Nazgul between this and their next sighting, because they couldn't die, could they? Here on Gone with Gandalf, I talk about J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, so a lot of Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, and things I like to do are answer questions a bit like this, so if you enjoy, then consider subscribing. Let's dive into this video. Pun intended. Now, Nazgul were largely unkillable by physical weapons, since they had no physical form other than, the robes and the armour that they'd wear on top. However, their horses were just horses, and they were, sadly for them, drowned in the flood. Up until that autumnal day of the 20th of October 3018, they had been abroad and actively trying to find the Ringbearer and the Shire since about June or July. The Nazgul were then forced to regroup in Mordor following the flood, thus ending Sauron's hunt for the ring, a tactic which, of course, had it been successful, would have shortened the war greatly, as Sauron would have received the ring and achieved dominion of Middle-earth shortly thereafter. Now, I have a feeling, and it is only a feeling because it isn't explicitly said in the Unfinished Tales, that they will have had to walk unclad back the way that they came through the gap of Rohan back towards Mordor. Now, by walking back unclad, they weren't robed, thus they would not be seen by anyone, and this is how they originally made it through the lands of Gondor into Rohan and so forth. By then crossing the plains up to meet up with the servants of Mordor in the wold to get a boat to cross the Anduin again, they would have completed their return, and this would have taken them a very long time to deliver the bad news back to their lord and master Sauron. He was already displeased that it was taking them so long to find the Shire, and that was months ago. So, after quite the scolding, they were, of course, given the winged fell beasts that we see in the films. And their first appearance in the books was a bit different compared to the films, and they'd appear on the evening of the 23rd of February 3019, when a flying shadow was shot down by Legolas as they were canoeing down the Anduin from Lothlorien. And this was about 4 months after the loss of their horses, and that's 4 months of having to resort to orcs doing the scouting for Sauron, which is absolutely horrendous, I'm sure. Now, I don't often quote things from the books because I don't want to hassle with copyright, etc., but this one's quite nice. So, suddenly the great bow of Lorien sang. Shrill went the arrow from the elven string. Frodo looked up. Almost above him the winged shape swerved. There was a harsh, croaking scream as it fell out of the air, vanishing down into the gloom of the eastern shore. The sky was clean again. There was a tumult of many voices far away, cursing and wailing in the darkness, and then silence. Neither shaft nor cry came again from the east that night. And then when Legolas's deed was told of to Gandalf the White later on, all he said was like, "You only slew his steed. It was a good deed, but the rider was soon horsed again, for he was a Nazgul, one of the 9, who rode now upon winged steeds." So, a bit of a mood killer there really, and but taking out the scouting Nazgul was useful, since it bought time before their return from Mordor again. But it did not kill them, as neither did the flood. And the 9 that were drowned in the flood of Elrond were still around. And to illustrate that again, the next Nazgul sighting in that neck of the woods was by Frodo and Sam in the Dead Marshes about a week later, which may have been the same one that was patrolling that area, but of course it could have been a different one. But yeah, we don't know. Now, the Nazgul would be destroyed along with the One Ring, either by the erupting Mount Doom or the waning of the powers of the 9 rings, of course, with the exception of the Lord of Morgul that was killed by Éowyn and Merry, but they are topics for other videos. If you want to learn more about the Nazgul or Ringwraiths, then let me know by writing a comment, because I can do that. I have a series that is recounting what happened on this day in the War of the Ring 2, and it's continuing very shortly. So if you enjoy that, then consider subscribing. I'm going with Gandalf now. Good day!